This heart-shaped, emerald-green pool of fresh water, surrounded by lush vegetation, is not the creation of an artist for a fantasy movie. It is a cenote. A cenote is a natural sinkhole, resulting from the collapse of limestone bedrock that exposes groundwater. The regional term is specifically associated with the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. Cenotes attract cavern and cave divers from all over the world. There are organized efforts to explore and map these complex underwater systems, assumed to be the world's largest. Great care should be taken to avoid spoiling this fragile and archaeologically important ecosystem when scuba diving. Described by National Geographic as liquid time capsules, cenotes and blue holes are amazing submerged structures that were created by similar geological phenomena.
Blue holes are formed through a combination of natural processes and events, including karst topography, the gradual dissolution of limestone or dolomite rock by groundwater; sea level fluctuations, changes in sea level over thousands of years caused by glacial cycles, like the last ice age; tectonic activity, earthquakes and uplifting of the Earth's crust, leading to the exposure of ancient sinkholes; and through coastal erosion, the gradual wearing away of the coastline by wind, waves, and currents. There are hundreds of blue holes, scattered all over the world. In this video, we will have a close look at three of the most famous blue holes, namely the Great Blue Hole in Belize, the Dean's Blue Hole in the Bahamas, and the Blue Hole of Dahab in Egypt.
Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, one of the world's most visited regions, sits on a bedrock of limestone, caused by the asteroid collision that wiped out the dinosaurs. Rainwater seeping into the limestone over the eons has formed caverns. Over time, the roofs of these caverns have collapsed, exposing underground freshwater pools called cenotes. Unique to the Yucatan, cenotes are otherworldly grand. The word cenote originates from the Mayan word, cenote, for sinkhole. The mystifying and spectacular pools can range from mere puddles to vast football field-sized basins, 100 feet below ground. There are over 2,000 in all. All over the Yucatan Peninsula, the cenotes are a popular tourist destination for swimming, snorkeling, and scuba diving due to the clear, freshwater pools. When cavern diving, one must be able to see natural light the entire time that one is exploring the cavern, for example, the Kukulkan cenote, near Tulum. On the other hand, during a cave dive, one passes the point where daylight can penetrate, and divers must follow a safety line to exit the cave. Different factors affecting scuba divers can change quite dramatically once moving from a cavern dive into a cave dive. The cenotes, for the Maya culture, have been a symbol of duality, since they represented life and death. They were the only significant water source for the Maya cities, and represented the gateway to the world of the dead, the Xibalba. Major Maya settlements required access to adequate water supplies, and therefore cities were built around these natural wells. Many cenotes, like the sacred cenote in Chichen Itza, played an important role in Maya rites. The Maya believed that cenotes were portals to the afterlife, and home to the rain god, Chuck. This extremely rare canoe, dated between 830 to 950 AD, was found almost completely intact, submerged in a cenote. Other noteworthy archaeological findings include several human skeletons. One of them, Eve of Naaran, was carbon dated to be 13,600 years old, and at a depth of 57 meters, divers located the remains of a mastodon. Human sacrifice was a common practice among the ancient Aztec and Maya civilizations, and cenotes were often the site of these sacrifices. The sacrifice of human lives was believed to be necessary to appease the gods and ensure the well-being of the community. The ritual of human sacrifice seems to continue until today, since deadly diving accidents claim the lives of many divers each year. Of course, the cenotes are not deadly. The real cause of death is either the overconfidence in own scuba diving abilities, or the ignorance of the rules for safe diving. Cenote cave diving requires special equipment and training with certification for cave diving. Both cavern and cave diving make detailed briefings, diving experience, and weight adjustment to freshwater buoyancy an absolute necessary. The cenotes are usually filled with rather cool fresh water. Cenote divers must be wary of possible halocline. This produces blurred vision until they reach a more homogeneous area. Stirred silt in the water can drop the visibility from tens of meters to just a few centimeters, leading to loss of orientation and increased anxiety. Under pressure, underwater, and underground, divers tend to have sudden panic attacks, which can lead to deadly accidents, especially when a diver is separated from others, or lost in a cave without direct access to the surface. We will end the exploration of cenotes with scenes of an incident caused by a panic attack in a cenote under low visibility conditions. Luckily, thanks to other divers in the group, it did not end deadly.
After the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, the Belize Barrier Reef is the second largest reef system in the world. Stretching for 190 miles, or 305 kilometers along the coast of Belize, it's home to hundreds of species of corals, turtles, mollusks, marine mammals, and fish, among others hammerhead, nurse, blacktip, and Caribbean reef sharks. The Great Blue Hole of Belize is located close to the center of the Lighthouse Reef, and is surrounded by shallow waters. Being the largest of the world's blue holes, this perfectly circle-shaped, giant, underwater sinkhole, was created by the collapse of a cavern, which was formed during the glacial ages tens of thousands of years ago. Huge stalactites, found in the blue hole, which were produced by the precipitation of minerals from water, dripping through the cave ceiling, prove this fact. The deep blue color of blue holes, in general, is caused by the high transparency of clean ocean water, and the bright white carbonate sand, which covers the bottom of the holes. Blue light is the most enduring color of the light spectrum, and therefore manages to reach the white sand at the bottom, to be reflected back to the surface. The Great Blue Hole of Belize features a diameter of more than 300 meters, or 984 feet across, and it is 125 meters, or 410 feet deep. These dimensions make it not the deepest, but the world's largest blue hole. In terms of marine life, in contrast to the surrounding reef, the blue hole is scarcely populated. Below 90 meters, with the only exception of bacteria, all life forms simply vanish. This phenomenon is caused by a thick layer of highly toxic hydrogen sulfide, H2S, spanning the width of the entire sinkhole like a floating blanket. So far, there are no accurate numbers of deadly dive accidents, which have occurred while scuba diving in the Great Blue Hole. The numbers of fatalities vary from only 3 lost divers, with 2 of them discovered during a submarine exploration on the bottom of the hole, up to 100 divers in recent years. The cause of death, in most cases, seems to be diving too deep, with the intention of admiring the enormous stalactites, which are unfortunately located below the safe diving depth limits. According to the rules of recreational diving, experienced divers are allowed to dive to a depth of 40 meters or 130 feet, while open water divers may only dive to a maximum depth of 60 feet, or 18 meters. Below 135 feet or 41 meters, nitrogen narcosis will take control of the divers' bodies and minds. People react differently to this chemical effect. Some feel euphoria, a numbing sensation, or a false sense of empowerment, or simply continue with their descent, until eventually, they run out of air, or suffer a heart attack due to the effects of high water pressure. It is simply a matter of safety precautions and procedures. The first rule should always be, novices may not dive into the blue hole. Unfortunately, some local dive operators let divers with insufficient experience dive the blue hole, without even checking their brevets and logbooks. They sacrifice safety, with the intention of making a quick buck, while risking the lives of their clients. In February 2023, a female diver, certified as an advanced open water diver, died during the ascent back to the surface. Her dive group didn't even know she was missing for about 15 minutes after her dead body was pulled up. Her dive computer indicated that she was at 145 feet or 44 meters for 12 minutes. The bottom line for safe diving any blue hole is, don't go beyond your limits, and don't transfer the responsibility for your life to other people. "202 meters, or 663 feet deep, Dean's Blue Hole, is the second deepest blue hole in the world, just behind Dragon Hole in the South China Sea. Located on the Atlantic side of Long Island in the Bahamas, the natural splendor of Dean's Blue Hole can be marveled at from the staggering cliffs above, and the powdery white sand beach to its side. Its imposing deep blue color, set amidst its shallow turquoise lagoon, and its neighboring beautiful beach, all collectively create a spectacular scene. One of the most distinguished features of Dean's Blue Hole is an underwater sand waterfall, or sandfall. Like an hourglass, an underwater current causes surrounding coral sand to continuously fall into the blue hole, thus creating an effect similar to a waterfall. Dean's Blue Hole itself is the main spectacle that all its visitors descend for. The topography, rock formations, and corals are enough to fulfill a remarkable diving day alone. However, what some may not know is that the hole and its vicinity also contain a large variety of marine species. Snorkelers who stick to the shallows can enjoy corals around the rim of Dean's Blue Hole, along with lots of exotic subsea species thriving near the surface. Despite being popular among snorkelers and scuba divers, Dean's Blue Hole is mainly famous as a premier destination for freedivers. This is also where the Vertical Blue free diving competition is held every year. Competitors, film crews, and spectators travel from all around the world just to witness the free diver who can dive the deepest into the blue hole. As one of the world's most esteemed freediving destinations, Dean's Blue Hole attracts the most experienced, skilled, and courageous freedivers from all corners of the globe. First reached by Jim King in 1992, it has since become a prestigious site that's garnered the attention of Earth's freediving elite. After its popularity catapulted the site to fame, professional diver William Trubridge broke a freediving world record here in April 2010, in which he descended to a depth of 92 meters on a single breath, using only his feet for propulsion, not fins. On December 14, 2010, he broke his own record, when he reached 101 meters, again on a single breath with no fins. Sadly, in November 2013, another professional diver, named Nicholas Meverly, died during his attempt to set a new record at Dean's Blue Hole. In pursuit of another record in a championship event, in front of the best freedivers in the world, Nicholas Meverly managed to surface, but he was not all the way back. After diving down to 68 meters, he paused, and reached 72 meters, before turning back. After staying underwater for 3 minutes 38 seconds, the 32-year-old freediver pulled off his goggles, and quickly fell into unconsciousness. He died soon after. Mr. Meverly's life and death reflect both the spirit of a fast-growing niche sport, and its dangers. His rise from novice to record holder, in little more than a year, serves both as an inspiration, and as a dire warning to an undersea world of divers, whose stars rise, as the depths they reach plunge. In more recent years, past records have since been smashed like never before. Russia's Alexei Molchanov, snatched the men's world record in the free immersion discipline in 2021, performing a 126 meters descent, and back to the surface, in 4 minutes and 45 seconds. Alessia Zecchini from Italy broke the women's world record in the constant weight category, with her 115-meter dive, which was quickly usurped by Slovenia's Alenka Artnik, when she several minutes later descended to 118 meters. Until today, there are no scuba diving accidents in Dean's Blue Hole on record that ended with the death of a diver. As long as all safety precautions are taken, appropriate dive certifications are acquired, and divers prepare in advance, there's no reason why Dean's Blue Hole has to be anything but excitingly enjoyable. The Blue Hole in Dahab is worldwide the undisputed leader in terms of fatal diving accidents. The idyllic setting of Dahab is breathtaking, the desert landscape, and the Red Sinai Mountains, border the deep blue sea of the Gulf of Aqaba, which not only features a stunning underwater world, but also the Blue Hole, just meters away from the shore. The Red Sea, as one of the world's premier diving destinations, offers both snorkelers and scuba divers easy access to the colorful world of intact coral reefs, with plenty of healthy sea life species to observe, admire, and capture with a camera. Dahab is no exception. While open-water divers can explore the entire house reef along the coast, for recreational divers, with at least an advanced open-water certification, there exists a most fulfilling diving route. The route takes divers first through a narrow and tunnel-like canyon, called Al Bales, until they exit it at a depth of 32 meters. There, surrounded by the stunning blue of the open water, divers shift into a comfortable drift dive, with a supporting current along the wall of the house reef. The drift dive gradually becomes more shallow, towards a beautiful coral formation, called the saddle, which acts as an opening into the Blue Hole. There, the divers enter the Blue Hole at a depth of around 7 meters. After getting a glimpse of the abyss, and crossing the Blue Hole along its diameter, the route will end the dive at a jetty on the shore. The Blue Hole is a submarine sinkhole, with a maximum depth within a hole of 102 meters or 335 feet. It's easily accessible from the shore via a jetty. The Blue Hole is connected with the open sea at 2 spots. One of them is the shallow opening at 7 meters or 23 feet, known as the saddle. That's where the recreational divers, returning from the drift dive, enter the Blue Hole. The second connection is known as the Arch, which is the gate to the open sea, along a 26-meter-long tunnel. The name Arch was given by the first diver who reached the 102-meter deep bottom. As he looked up, the towering gate looked like a well-lit, 50 meters high, triumphal arch. In strict contrast to the dark blue and black environment, sunlight shining through the tunnel and reaching the Blue Hole causes this magnificent effect. On the seaward side of the tunnel, the bottom of the sea drops steeply to over 1,000 meters or 3,300 feet. On the way down from the surface, the top of the arch is reached at a depth of 55 meters. Swimming through the tunnel requires going further deeper down to 62 meters. Since the maximum depth allowed for recreational divers is 40 meters, exploring the Blue Hole should strictly be reserved for experienced and certified technical divers only. Unfortunately, it isn't the case, and that's why most of the deadly accidents happen. In order to prevent nitrogen narcosis and possible decompression sickness, technical divers breathe, instead of compressed air, a mix of 3 gases, called trimix, namely oxygen, nitrogen, and helium. The percentage of the constituent parts of trimix must be continuously adapted according to the planned dive profile. With the increase in depth, gas consumption will increase, too. Below 135 feet or 41 meters, nitrogen narcosis will start taking control of the divers' bodies and minds. If a brave and overconfident recreational diver attempts to reach the arch, and also swim through the tunnel with the intention to surface on the other side, while breathing compressed air from a single or even twin tank, he or she will most certainly run into trouble. At the bottom of the blue hole, the remains of several divers, consisting of tanks, dive masks, ditched weight belts, and neoprene wetsuits covering the owner's skeletons, act as a macabre warning sign. The total number of divers lost or died in Cenotes Blue Hole is estimated to be around 150 in the last 10 years. Some of the bodies were recovered and handed over to their families, however, the majority were never found, because they probably died on the way to the surface on the other side of the tunnel and were lost in the abyss. The cliff just opposite the entry to the Blue Hole is the memorial site for perished divers. According to the nameplates on the memorial site, so far, only one female diver has died. The 24-year-old Barbara Dillinger was part of a scuba diving safari tour and got separated from her group during an attempted arch crossing. She never surfaced, and rescue efforts were in vain. It is assumed that she was suffering from severe nitrogen narcosis. Ultimately, she didn't have the proper training or knowledge of the risks she was exposing herself to. Her remains were discovered years later at the bottom. Another famous fatality is the death of Yuri Lipsky, a 22-year-old Russian-Israeli diving instructor, who recorded his entire dive on video, including his last moments after an uncontrolled descent, until he hit the bottom. Witnesses, who saw Yuri Lipsky on land before the dive, said that he was fully geared up, but lacking in two crucial things: a diving buddy, and a second oxygen tank. These reports hint at a reckless nature, and being prone to overestimating his diving abilities. Fatal diving accidents in the Blue Hole of Cenotes seem to concern mainly male divers, between the ages of 25 and 35. Therefore, one might assume that the most dangerous chemical compound causing the deaths of divers is not nitrogen, but testosterone. The following scene shows a diver, who obviously is not a technical but a recreational diver, attempting to cross the arch. He carries a second tank of compressed air, and therefore must feel very secure, despite diving below the allowed 40 meters or 130 feet. He doesn't have a diving hood on, and at this depth, the loss of his body temperature must be quite high. The arch is hidden behind an angular entrance, thus making it difficult to find. The then following cavernous tunnel is longer than it seems, and there is often a strong opposing current from the open sea, which makes it difficult to pass through. Lacking precise reference points in the deep, many divers are deceived by the arc, leading them to believe they are only a few strokes away. Somewhere near the entrance, nitrogen narcosis, also known as depth intoxication, or rapture of the deep, hits this diver. He begins to make euphoric flying movements with his arms and legs, which increases his air consumption even faster. Furthermore, he seems to be not aware of the fact that he starts to descend deeper and deeper. Such a situation would eventually lead to certain death. Luckily, in his case, a nearby group of well-trained and well-equipped technical divers, who also captured this video sequence, managed to save him. In a nutshell, if you have the proper certification, are equipped according to the requirements, dive within your physical abilities, plan the dive route well, and are aware of the risks involved, then the Blue Hole in Cenotes is a must-see dive site, and an entry in every self-respecting diver's logbook is a necessity.
In 2007, William Trubridge, who is the world record holder in unassisted freediving, managed to free dive through the arch without the use of any supporting equipment according to his motto, "No suit, no fins, only one breath." This superhuman achievement opened the gate to other freedivers, and since then many successful attempts were made. We hope you liked watching this video. If you haven't yet, kindly subscribe to our channel. Thank you.